So when we meet the person where that person is coming from, so you have the empathy and you recognize the intention of their actions, then you are in a much positive place to welcome whatever it is that is coming without judging, which is what most of the time make us have, the totally wrong impression of the situation, of the circumstance, and what the person was trying to do. So it's so important to meet that person there.
Our guest today is an artist, writer, philanthropist, abundance coach, mentor, mother, and a wife. During her career as a journalist, she has worked for magazines and television in South America and the U.S., touching on subjects from parenting, forgiveness, and growth, and even political issues too. As a life and abundance coach, she has helped people from all different backgrounds discover and implement the full potential of their own creative powers for personal growth and self-healing. Welcome to the show, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you. We have been planning this for a little.
I know. We've been planning it for a while. I appreciate your patience. I did take a little sneak peek. I watched a couple of your interviews. You're a fantastic guest. I love that you went on your husband's show. I thought that was a really cool moment for the two of you.
Yes.
You know, got to see you guys a little bit, the professional side, but also, I love seeing how interested he was in you and your books. And it almost was like, in a sense, he was a fan of your work. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I think it's very important in any relationship, not just in romantic relationship, to have an ingredient of admiration to the other person. I was having a similar conversation this weekend. Somebody asked me, how do I feel about seeing my kids being all grown ups? And I said, well, I have a sense of mourning because I miss them little, but in the same token, it's so amazing to me how oftentimes they become my teachers, I become the student. And in relationships, that's what happened, I mean, sometimes my husband is my teacher and sometimes he's my student. And I love that he admires the work I do. And, he empowers me to keep on going because he sees the impact that I am creating around me, in my tribe. So, and
it's
even
incredible.
Outside the tribe. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. And I have a daughter, she's 7, and at 7 years old, she's already my teacher in some things. She's teaching me things or having me look at things in a different light. Maybe I'm 36, so for 36 years, I've been seeing it one way, and she comes up and shows me something and kind of teaches me a new way of thinking about it. And it's a beautiful thing. But absolutely, I was married as well. I was married for about 6 years, almost 7 years. And so I know that, how important it is there to be, admire who you're with, right? In different ways, personal ways, business ways. And then just, it's beautiful to see their growth over time. So I think it's great. I could tell that you and your husband are a perfect fit for each other. And that was just in that shorter interview on his show. I thought that was fantastic. And I want to let our audience know that they can find you on social media. I know we're connected now on Instagram. So I'm going to have that all clickable in the show notes. Anywhere that you're active, I'm going to have that so people can tune in and tap into your content, what you're all about. Also, your website, I'll have that clickable as well. And they won't have to worry about spelling it or spelling your last name or like me, struggling to pronounce your last name. And they can find all your content. It's right there and ready to rock and roll. Here's one of the things that caught my attention when you had reached out to me. I mentioned that you enjoyed the show and wanted to share your story. The reason I really wanted you on here was that we are resonating in a similar way, focused on the importance of gratitude and empathy. And it's something I talk a lot about on the show. I focus on a lot in my personal life. It's really the driver behind anything. It can really flip a mood or catch you when you're kind of in a moment and help you get out of it really quickly. But I want you, and you have books on this, and you talk a lot about it in the different, on your different social media platforms. But I love you to tap into our audience today. We have a lot of young entrepreneurs. We have people who are aspiring for their greatness and finding their purpose. I love you to kick the show off for us and talk about the power of gratitude, what that means to you.
First of all, I believe that gratitude and abundance goes hand to hand. So for me, gratitude is kind of like the thermostat in my life. The more gratitude I have for everything, even for the not so great days, the more I am empowered to keep on going, the more I see more possibilities around me, the more I am willing to take a chance, because I am already grateful for what I have. So I am in a great place emotionally, mentally, and even physically. I mean, sometimes we forget to thank our body, for functioning, for waking us up in the
Right.
morning, for being able to walk to the bathroom and not having to need somebody to help us get there. So I think gratitude is, if you see it as a thermostat, as your guide, to balance the everyday situations and circumstances, because that's all it is. There's
Almost seems
situations
like
and
it's like a lens.
circumstances.
It's like a lens. You're almost putting on like a pair of glasses, and you just see things with more of an appreciative lens. Like you can go walk out, walk to go to the bathroom, like you said, first thing in the morning. And that's such a thing that we don't even think that we do, or we're brushing our teeth, or we have fresh water to drink, or we have milk to put in our cereal, whatever it is.
Able to see.
Yeah. And that lens just allows you to see every little thing more clearly and appreciate it. And then what that does kind of for our heart, right? It just puts us in a different space, right? And so, and then the empathy piece is tied in. How do you feel that they kind of work hand in hand, right?
People confuse empathy with sympathy. You don't have to feel sorry for the other person, but you kind of have to try to wear their shoes.
Yes.
And try to imagine how that person is feeling in that moment, so you can have that empathy for them. It's not about feeling sorry for the person, but understanding and kind of meeting that person where that person is, so you can understand. For me, it's very important the intention of the action. Oftentimes, people do things and we don't get the result and we get angry at them, but we don't see the intention. What's the intention of this person? To help us? Was to make our day easier? Is to, light up our day? Or is to ruin our day and create problems, And I talk about this with my kids since they were little, Mom, she took my shoes and now I can find them. And then, her older sister said, oh, I put them at the door so you can find them when you leave the house. So her intention was to help her. And she's taking it as she's doing something to me, to hurt me, to bother me. So when we meet the person where that person is coming from, so you have the empathy and you recognize the intention of their actions, then you are in a much positive place to welcome whatever it is that is coming without judging, which is what most of the time make us have, the totally wrong impression of the situation, of the circumstance, and what the person was trying to do. So it's so important to meet that person there.
Mic drop moment right out of the gates. Claudia just comes in and hits a home run. She was waiting for it. That's so good. I mean, I've had now, as we record this, over 150 episodes out, and so many incredible conversations. And I appreciate you actually tuning into a few of those and sharing those off camera with me, that you enjoyed it. And I don't know that we spent as much time on empathy as I'd like to, because and the intention factor. Like, I think the intention factor is what's hitting me the most, because I've talked a lot about gratitude and I feel empathy. And I appreciate that you decipher the difference between empathy and sympathy. I think that's super important to outline. But also the intention piece is where I think a lot of people can get mixed up. You see a lot of keyboard warriors fighting with each other on Facebook and Instagram. And it's like, that's the one thing about social media that kind of kills me is in text messaging only, you don't know intention really. You're just jumping to conclusions and killing people over words. And it's just, and then I also feel like I've worked in a corporate environment where a lot of times decisions and things were said and done without understanding any intention. Like they didn't even have a conversation about figuring out why the shoes were moved in your example. And I think that's really important in relationships, especially really strong relationships. That intention piece is big, but I don't know that anyone ever articulated it the way you did, or we talk about it. We don't talk about it. At least I didn't in the classroom, didn't learn it there. I come from a great Italian family. We're very close. We love on each other, but there's never just a sit down saying, hey, we got to think about intention here, like you did for your kids. And being a
Right.
dad, this is something next time I'm with my daughter, we're going to have lunch together and I'm going to teach her what the word intention means. And she's 7. It may go a little bit over her head, but I know that she gets it. And the thing that kids learn too is things are caught, I'm learning, not so much taught. I mean, you could teach
Yes.
and it's great,
Absolutely.
but she will learn it from me through my actions. And I can even say, hey, you know what? Maybe they didn't intend on that, right? And if I say it and like something's happened to me, she'll learn it through my story. So I'm gonna.
What do you think? What
do
do
you
you
think
think?
about that?
Oftentimes,
Yeah.
when my kids were little, I would have a situation and I would sit in the table with them when we were eating and say, "Okay, girls, I want your feedback. This is what happened. What do you think?" And I still do it. We have group chat now that they're adults, and I said, "Okay, am I taking this personal? This is the situation," and I get different feedbacks.
Right.
What you were talking earlier about text messages, I have that sometimes with my mom. I would say something and I will text it and she will answer me, "Well, you don't have to be mad." And I'm thinking, with my other generation hat, I didn't put capital letters. What do you think? I'm screaming at you or I'm being rude? You know what I'm saying? But it's what I wrote, she's taking it in a different level, in a different intention, and she's being hurt or offended or feeling that I'm screaming at her, maybe, when that's not the intention at all.
Right. Because the
So
text message
sometimes,
lacks energy and people are energy. So like
totally.
we could learn more about how someone's feeling about us just by sitting in front of them, more so than even like a text message really. And so it's difficult. And I have that problem too sometimes, like if someone's short or if I'm even short with them in response because I'm busy or something and I'm giving them an answer to answer their question, but I don't elaborate on it, they assume that I don't care. And that's not the intention isn't that I don't care.
I know.
The intention is I want to give you the information you need to move forward, and we can totally elaborate on this more.
Or you might be in a hurry, I answered my daughter the other day, "Sure." And she goes, "That's rude." And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm in the middle of something. I just didn't want to leave you hanging. So she's like,
Right.
"Mom, can we do this, and that?" "Sure." And I'm like, also translating in my head, maybe it's for sure, and I'm just giving her the short version and saying sure only. But yeah, we get lost in translation all the time. And not only is what we say, but it's so important how we say it.
Yes.
You can say the same sentence with a different tone, and the person is going to receive something totally different. Sometimes I have a client and come to me and say, "And he said this, and that." And I said, "Okay, let's role play. I'm going to be your husband. You're going to be you, but I am going to use a different tone in the things this person is saying to you." So instead of saying, "Are you going to wear that?" You can say, Are you going to wear that?" Like, it's totally different.
Oh my God,
And
it's so good.
you're going to receive it, so differently. But when you're texting, you don't have that, so we have to be a lot more aware when we text and learn from that. So when we speak, when we use our voice, use the right tone to send the message. So you can put the empathy there. You can put the intention in the same sentence and say something from a place of love with kindness and give the same message. You're going to say the same thing that you want to say, but from a kind place. So the person doesn't get hurt.
And I feel like intention is something that you can, it's almost like in sales. I've had a lot of people on that are in sales and business on the show. And that is so important when you go into a sales meeting or you're meeting someone or networking, the intention meter is up. It's kind of the BS meter, the sniff test, if you will. Is this person just trying to sell me because they want to make money off of me? Do they actually want to get to know me? Can they help me? What's their intention here? And we have these meters going up, right? And we're like, beep, 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 beep. Like Claudia's just trying to sell me her book or her product or service, right? But when you get to know someone and you can feel their heart and you have a little bit of empathy and you can relate and connect, and you know that this person really is a giver and they're not just here to take from you, but they're here to serve. And service and a relationship, a friendship, whether it's a spouse, a child, your neighbor, podcast guest, whatever. To me, it's a give and take thing. It's not it should not be one-sided. I shouldn't just, be taking from you. I should be giving you some stuff. And by the end of this conversation, my goal is that the audience is really the one that's got kind of this wheelbarrow of great information that they can leave with and apply to themselves, right? And apply to their own story. And that's why I love having you on the show here. I want to keep this moving. So one of the things that you have out is called I Am. It's a journal for children 5 and up. And I think it's really a great thing for people of all ages. I did a little diving into what I Am is, and I actually have a kind of a cartoon gratitude journal that my daughter and I will be working in as well, where there's different words of kind of affirmation, and each page has 3 lines for things that we're grateful for.
That's what it has. I have it here if you want to see it.
So I'd love to see yours, because that's awesome. I was going to say, once we fill ours out, then we're going to need another one. So then I'm going to get yours.
So I created this when COVID started and kids stopped going to school, and there was some studies about depression with kids, not being social, and kind of, I mean, we already live in a society where people just walk around looking at their phone, and it's like everybody has their own bubble. I was just in New York, and I didn't know how people even walk, because they're like in these little cabbies with their phone, and they don't connect with each other. They don't look at each other.
I know.
And it's so important to socialize, because as we said at the beginning of the show, we are all teachers and we are all students. And one kid can learn something amazing in a playground from another kid, and bring it home. I mean, of course, they're going to learn some bad habits too, but at the end of the day, the interaction in the social skills they're going to develop are going to help them in the future. But a lot of kids were, depressed. Some kids were committing suicide. And I was thinking, how can I help these children to be present and to teach them to pay attention to what is working for them?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm not going to see my friend Mary, and I'm not going to be able to play in the playground. And I miss my teacher and this and that, But there are other things that are happening for you and every day that you can think about and you can focus about, and then you can remember at the end of the day. So what I did is I did it in a way that is easy for children. So they have little faces here, so they can see their mood, because they're not always happy, and they're not always sad, and they're not always angry. There is so many different emotions that children are sometimes not even aware of. I had a client once. He was a 5-year-old, and he was having some issues in the school. And I said to him, okay, we're going to play with a wheel of emotions. And we build it together. We put the little eyes and the sad mouth or the angry mouth, like different things. And when we finish it, I said, now you can take it home. So when you feel different ways, then you can tell your mommy, it's not that I'm just angry. I feel frustrated, or I feel not heard, or I feel different things. And he turned around and he said to me, but this is incomplete. And I said, what do you mean? He was 5. And he goes, what is the stress face? And I was like, oh my God, you're 5 years old and you already know how stress feels like.
Wow.
And that was such an eye-opening for me. So when I created this, I created kind of thinking of him as well, and okay, let's see your emotions here. And then I start with the day, one thing that always makes me smile. So not just today, always. Tell me something that always makes you smile, you know? So right from the get-go, you put in a smile in the face of the kid. Let's bring our mind and our memory to that special moment or situation or place or person that always makes you smile. And then the other prompts are, I love when, I learned this, my good deed, different things. And at the bottom, I have an affirmation. And I did the same thing with my other journals too, because I think it's important to start your day in a good state of mind. And if you don't know what to say to yourself, at least read that affirmation and take it with you as a mantra the rest of the day. And other things that I did in this journal were they have different stories, and they have big affirmation, do the right thing even when no one is looking.
Yes,
so
that's
I try
great
to
right there.
teach them, Yeah. playing values, things that are important. And then, the story, and then a little exercise, what is trust for you? To see what they think is trust. Because we might think that trust for them is, I'm going to come and pick you up from school every day. So I trust my mom because she's always going to pick me up. But it might be something different, I know you're always going to protect me. I know you're never going to leave me. I mean, some kids, it's like, I don't know if I can trust that my mom is not going to die because my grandfather died. And, so these are opportunities for the parents to speak to the kids about subjects that we don't talk about every single day, and they're so important for them. And sometimes they don't even know how important they are until something happened, and then they don't have any answers.
So good. I mean, to drive the conversation and not have it be so, we're coming here, we're having this big conversation, and your child could feel that. They could feel that you're coming in. They almost think, what, am I in trouble? Is this a homework assignment? But when you have it fun and you have them participating, and I love that you created that wheel of emotions with your son where he was able to create it.
It was a client.
Oh, that's a client. So, they're able to create it, and then they're part of the process. They're not you're not just coming with them with an assignment to do. You're creating it with them. I think it's so good. And as I said earlier, things are caught, not always taught. And I think when you're going through that book, you're learning different things together, right? You're kind of catching different parts of it and like the light bulb moments going off. And what I loved about the book, I'm definitely getting that, it looks like there's a lot on each page. It's not just fluff. There's a lot of activities there.
Makes them think. Yeah, it makes them think.
Makes them think. And as a parent, something I want to spit out here real quick is something I catch myself doing with my daughter sometimes is almost assuming what I think is going to make her happy or what she likes based on past things. Like if a new movie came out and there's this really cute kitty cat in it or something, or a dog that I just know looks and is cute like all her others. And then I assume that that's going to be her favorite character. I might get her the stuffed animal for that or whatever. And then she's like, no, I like the green frog. He's the best one. He's awesome. Just making this up. And I wouldn't have known that, right? I'm thinking, oh no, Isabel is always going to go for the cute white, whatever, or the fluffy, the one that's the cutest. And it's not always true. Sometimes she'll go with something that's a little bit more goofy or silly or whatever. So that's something that I'm learning too, is it's maybe a little different than intention, but to really let our children be our children and not try to come to a lesson with a result in mind, and let the lesson teach us something as the teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes kids identify with a character. It's not that they like it more, but they see similar characteristics. So that character is more familiar to them, and immediately that feeling of
connection, maybe, right?
It's not only connection, but it's like I can relate to this character because I feel the same way. And sometimes you can show that movie to the same kid. And by the way, my daughter's name is Isabella too, so I love that. Sometimes you can show a kid the same movie, and then 3 years later, that same kid might like a different character. And it had happened to me that I have talked to my girls and say, oh, one of my youngest one name is Sophia. And I go, Sophia, you used to love this one, right? And she'll say, yeah, but I like this other one better now because she's in a different place
Different
now.
place,
so, yeah. So she doesn't identify with that other character anymore. And there is something about this other character that she likes better, and observing our kids, it's such an amazing thing to do because, it's like when they start trying to walk and they fall. And then you watch them. How are they going to react to that? Are they going to get up? Are they going to turn around to kind of check with us to see if it's okay to be sitting down in the floor? Are they going to be embarrassed? I mean, just by watching them, that's where their personalities are being created and built. And we are spectators, but at the same time, we can empower them right from there. They look at you, and instead of you running, oh my God, are you okay? You're like, you're good. You get that. You got this. You can get up. Let me see.
Right.
And if you see that he can, it's okay to ask for help, sweetheart. I'll help you this time. Next time, you're going to be able to do it. But you start right from the moment they're little, to empower them, to
So
make them
good.
feel, I trust you to be able to handle this. But in the event that you can't, I'm here and I'm not going to judge you, because at the end of the day, I know you're going to do it on your own. So
That is
it's
so
a
powerful.
process.
So powerful.
It's a process. And when we see that and we empower them, listen, I had a lot of jobs in my life and I wore a lot of hats, but my career is being a mom. I love being a mom. I think that being a mom and empowering people are my two highs. My husband said that I get high when I see a good result, or I see
Yeah.
that somebody's achieving
It
something. I'm
fuels
like,
you up. Yeah, it
oh
fuels you
my
up.
God, I don't need anything. I am already where I need to be. And when that happened with your own kids, and you watch them and you're like, wow, or even now as an adult, when I hear them coaching somebody and they repeating the same things I said at some point to them. And as as a parent, there are some mistakes you cannot make because they're watching you. They're watching you constantly. So
Especially
when
when
I
you're not
see
doing,
those,
if you're, yeah, they're catching way more than we realize of any moment,
when we
right?
don't think they're looking
If I
at
put
us,
something in the wrong spot and maybe Isabel knows where it belongs or something for a half a second, she will come in and be, oh no, you put that in the wrong thing. Like she's kind of
Yeah.
looking to see that mom or dad made a goof up, right? So they're watching
Yeah.
everything all the time, which is great. That means they're observing, and that's how things can be caught, right?
But look at the responsibility that we have.
It's huge responsibility.
When
Huge.
you hear a parent saying, do what I say, not what I do. Listen, we are in different generations now,
Right.
but I remember when I was a kid and we had one phone in the house. There was no,
Right.
cell phones. And my mom will say, if it's for me, tell them I'm not home. So, I mean, then she'll come to me and say, don't lie to me. It's a mix.
It's a mix, yeah. The
Information and message
actions
right
speak
there.
louder than words is so true. Something I wanted to hit on too, we're going to take a quick break in a second here and continue this awesome conversation, is that, every kid is a little different too. We got to remember that. Like you're talking about the, 10-month-old that's learning how to walk or whatever. Some kids learn in 8 months, some take 12, some are 10, whatever, and anywhere in between. But some kids are going to be more resilient, and others, when they fall, they'll cry immediately. And it probably depends, of course, if mom or dad's in the room, they may cry quicker because they know that there's a reaction coming. So we have to realize that everybody is a little different. Everyone's going to learn how to read at a different pace. And all we can really do as parents is be as supportive as possible and give the resources and tools so that development can happen to the highest level. And
I truly believe that we all have gifts. We just unwrap them at different times. And there's no rules for that. You have your gift and you're going to unwrap that gift when you're ready. And don't allow anybody make you feel any less because you haven't unwrapped yours yet.
Yeah.
And that's so important for kids to know, and to not only to know, but to believe.
Yeah.
I am a complete person and I have gifts, and I might not be unwrapping my gifts at 3 or 4-year-old, but I know I have gifts and I will unwrap them when I'm ready to.
So true. Well, a lot of the great minds and smartest people ever documented have had, kind of interesting childhoods. Einstein, I remember reading or learning about him where he didn't do very well in school as a youngster, right? He wasn't getting great reports to his mother or whatever, but I think she encouraged him, and he was just different the way that he was processing information, but the school system wasn't teaching in that way or whatever. So they were kind of going left and he was wanting to learn right. And so they didn't have a system in place that kind of made him seem like he wasn't smart, but really he was just learning in a different way. So I think that's important to his parents to not get discouraged if maybe your student or your child is a little bit behind as a student, but also to put the encouraging bridge in place that can help get them to the next level without them feeling like they're way behind, right? If it's a race, if it's a physical thing, and out on the playground, Maybe they're scared to go on a slide or climb or whatever it might be. But, in different circumstances, then all of a sudden they're glowing and they're shining and they're unlocking and
have different
unpacking.
Gifts.
Unpacking their gifts. So good, so good. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. Claudia, you're fantastic. I want to talk to you all day here. We're going to give some love to our sponsors. We will be right back. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. All right, we are back in action with Claudia Noriega, and you guys can connect with her on social media. Again, remember, I made that all clickable in the show notes. Super easy to connect with her. She's amazing, if you couldn't tell from the first 30 minutes of this conversation. There's so many different things I want to talk about, and I kind of teased it at the beginning of the show. I was watching your interview with your husband, Ed. Shout out to Ed. That was a fantastic interview, too. And one of the things that you kind of talked about and you guys discussed was that happiness is a choice. And I was like, man, this is so good. I want to get this on the show because our audience maybe hasn't heard it said this way. I think it's profound. I think it's important. It's empowering for everybody to realize that happiness is a choice. Can you please riff on that whole concept and how somebody can get a hold of their happiness if they feel like kind of down in the dumps right now?
I truly believe it's a choice. I think that we wake up every day with a blank canvas, and we have the choice to choose how we react. If you want to say react, because I rather say act, how my action is going to be instead of a reaction to any circumstance and situation every day. So you can wake up in the morning and think, I have to get up and I have to go to work and I'm going to have to deal with these people. And then I'm going to have to have that meeting. And then even your body language is going to change. If you change that little word to I get to, right from the start of your day, there is a possibility. I get to wake up this morning and I get to go to work because I have a job. And that's great that I have a job. And if you're stuck in traffic, I get to listen to more music because I really don't have anything to do. Maybe I'm going to listen to a podcast that is going to empower me.
Right.
And then when you get to work and you have that person that is always negative and is always, nagging you, you get to have a different reaction to that conversation. And you get to maybe give that person a compliment and change her mood that day. So every day we have a choice to shift every situation and choose happiness and joy. That's our choice.
Wow.
That's our choice. If we make that commitment with ourselves, even if it's for a week, and this is why is so important to journal. It's so important to journal, because especially journals that has prompts, because that really make you pay attention to the good things of every day. And when you go back in pages and you start seeing how good your day was yesterday, how good your week was last week, and how good your last year was, then you have a happy life,
Mm-hmm.
because you're paying attention to all the good things that you're having, and that is your choice.
Yeah.
It's like when you think about abundance. Abundance is not things that you have, is who you are. It's a way of being.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is also a way of being. You can choose to be a miserable person and be upset for everything that you don't have, or you can choose to be a happy person that lives in abundance because you're grateful for everything you do have. That's your
No.
choice.
And if you guys are listening right now, you're missing out. I'm just smiling ear to ear hearing that, because I'm someone who knew that, I know that, and I live that, but still hearing it from you is still this like beautiful reminder of the fact that, and I like that you say action. It's taking action opposed to reaction, because that always makes it seem like we're secondary to the primary
Mm-hmm.
action, which doesn't have to be. We can already be acting in happiness and gratitude, and then someone can come to us with negativity. And it's not that we just let it bounce off and we ignore them, but we know that, hey, they're going through something right now, and we can choose whether we're going to have this bring us down to and now become a 20-minute powwow where we're like, oh yeah, let me tell you. And I've made this mistake many times, where someone calls me with a problem, and then I'm like, all of a sudden I start to talk about something that's a problem in my life, and we just start to have a problem fest of, and then what good did
Right.
that do? Nobody feels better about it. Sometimes venting could be a good thing, but I feel like you're saying, if you remember the happiness in it, that look, even if you're having a bad day, something happens, you can take anything from it, and how you change the way you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, if you have a longer road trip ahead, you could be like, oh man, do I really have to do this right now? Like, I don't have the time for it. Or I could listen to 3 great podcasts, and what can I learn today that next week I wouldn't have had this opportunity, because you know what we're going to do? We're going to be busy, 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 busy. We're not going to take the time to listen. So when we have those opportunities, we can really turn it around. Even if it's something, I know the more devastating it is, the more difficult it is to find the light in it. But I've had
Mm-hmm.
really deep conversations on this show, and I've learned this through Ed Milet, who's one of my favorite podcast hosts, who has an incredible story of his own. And something, our return guests or audience members will have heard me say many times on the show is, everything happens for you, not to you. Like you were saying, you get to do it. You don't have to do it. It's the same kind of
I have that in
mentality.
my book. Mm-hmm.
It happens for you, not to you. So when you go through a divorce or a huge loss and just pain, it doesn't make any sense. Now you know that you can change the way that you are to the world somehow through the story, and you can make it happen, and somehow something better can come from it. We cannot change the past. The inevitable things that we're not able to change will happen, but we certainly can change our actions. We can control our happiness, and I feel like our heart. And I think that's so incredible. You're an amazing person. I didn't know where we were going to go today with this conversation. Do you have a couple more minutes? I know we're
Yes.
kind of run a little on time here. So I want to make sure that, I'm mindful of your schedule as well. Let's keep this thing rocking here. This is such a great conversation. You're somebody who I'd love to spend more time with. I'm going to have you back on the show. How's that sound? Promising you that up front.
Whenever you want to. Thank you.
We'll get you right back. What I'd love you to do is talk to anyone in the audience. It doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. It could be someone in their personal lives. Maybe it's a business professional in any field, but they're struggling right now. They're struggling with their purpose. Their work maybe isn't lighting them up. Their family's not acknowledging them. They're not acknowledging themselves. They maybe have been doing incredible things. They just don't see it that way. They're struggling with their purpose. What would you tell them?
I believe that everything starts with ourselves. I always, and I say that to my girls, if you don't love yourself, you don't respect yourself, you're not kind to yourself, you cannot project that to anything or anybody around you. Having a conversation with yourself is the most empowering thing that you can do, because there is nobody else around. So one of the exercises that I do with my clients is looking at themselves in the mirror and say, I love you. You're doing great. You got this. And at the beginning, you're going to get chills, or you're going to cry, or you're going to feel this is ridiculous. But this is a conversation you're having with yourself, because you have to be aligned with yourself. The minute that you have a doubt, you're telling the universe, I don't think this is going to happen. So you have to be aligned with yourself. You need to believe that, yes, I'm capable, I'm blessed, I'm total, I'm whole, I'm enough, I have this, I got this. So if anybody right now that is listening has self-doubt, shift, go to the mirror. Look what an amazing person you are. Look how far you have come. Look the achievements you have collected in your life, and be proud of it. Even if you had setbacks, even if you had traumas, work on those. Try to heal. Don't carry grouches. Don't carry bad feelings with you. Because when you do that, don't not forgive other people. Because when you do that, it's like taking the poison and waiting for somebody else to die.
Right.
Don't live your life like that. You are a whole and you are enough, and you need to work with yourself and start with yourself. And once you are aligned with what do you want and why do you want that? And if you need to ask that question 7 times, ask that question 7 times. But why? But why? But why? Until you go to the core of why it is that you're doing what you're doing. Because oftentimes happen that you are so caught up in I need to be a lawyer. I need to be a lawyer. I need to be a lawyer.
Right.
And then maybe you don't want to be a lawyer. So it's okay. I always say God allows U-turns. You don't want to be there? Make a U-turn. Who are you trying to
U-turn
impress?
or get off a different off-ramp that's maybe, and then your brain's going to say, recalculating. You're like, no, we ain't recalculating. We're going here now. We're just in a different direction.
And there is no failure. When you fail? When you stop trying.
When you stop trying.
When you don't do anything. That's when you fail. If not, either you win or you learn. Those are your 2 options. So what is it going to be?
Claudia, you are fantastic. You are so good. I wish anyone who has ever listened to any segment of the 150 episodes plus that we have out would come back and hear this one. I promote all of my episodes, but this is one I'm going to be so proud to get out and just be, it's an honor having you on the show. And you're someone who we think and feel and have a similar energy. You just say it a lot better than I do.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
You're fantastic. And I know your beautiful children and your family, your husband, they're very reflective of the greatness that's coming out of you too. I can see that you're helping their world, and you're also a sponge and loving on receiving love. That's a whole nother episode, is receiving love, right? That's a whole different topic.
Allowing yourself to receive love. Yeah.
Amen. So good. There's so much more I want to talk about. I was going to do a whole rapid fire segment that we kind of ran out of. Why don't I do 2 rapid fire questions and then our last question of the day? How's that sound?
Perfect.
All right. So what is your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, which has changed my whole life, because
depending on where you're at. Yeah.
Exactly. I used to fear not to fit in. And now I don't want to fit in. Now I want to belong, which is different.
So good.
Your fears change. The more you know yourself, I think your fears change. But for me, fear is face everything and rise. It's not what fear is like, I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid. I have fear. So fear is face everything and rise. So I am going to face it, and I'm going to rise, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to be a better version of myself every single day.
So good. And when we have a day when we're not so proud of, or a moment that we're not so proud of, I just posted this on social media, we can learn and adjust from it, and we can choose then today that we're going to start back being the best version of ourselves. It doesn't mean because we have a bad moment or a bad decision or choice or something we either got caught up in or whatever it might be, or acting out of a feeling or something. It's okay. Now we're going to get right back to it today, and we're going to continue on that journey of being the best we possibly can. So good to get right back in that moment again. Yeah.
I'm not the Dalai Lama. I have days that I don't want to talk to anyone. There are days that I feel not that pretty, and I don't feel like socializing, or I don't feel like talking, and that's okay. You have to be able to give yourself those breaks, and
So
then
true.
love yourself a little more, and then hug yourself a little more, and say, you know what, it's okay. We get to have those days too.
Yeah. If you could travel, or time travel even, to any place and time, where would you go?
I was having this conversation with my husband the other day, and he wanted to go back in time and meet, I don't remember, some rock star. I wanted to go back to me at 6 years old. I would go back to me and hug that child. It made me emotional. And tell her that I got her and that she's okay. And not to be afraid, that they're not going to be all pretty times, that she's going to have some setback, but she's going to live a fulfilled life. And at the end, she's going to achieve the dreams that she always had. And I will be waiting for her, but just to enjoy the ride and trust the process.
Oh, man, that's so good. I didn't even really think about that answer for myself yet, but you have me thinking that's likely where I would go too, is to give the conversation we just had today, to have that with my 6 or 7 year old self, right? And now you just have me thinking, like, I'm so more than ready to have this conversation with Isabel, because she's 7 and it'll be heavy, but she's so smart. She understands of feelings, emotions, thoughts. She's brilliant. And so, I'm not able to, at least to my knowledge, there's no DeLorean like in Back to the Future that exists yet. So instead of me going back to myself at 6, 7 years old, or like you, Claudia, going back to yourself, I'm going to go back to my daughter. She's 7. I still have, I feel like there's still so much opportunity to allow her to stop, not to put these barriers that end up coming from culture, society, the school system, whatever. I'm not trying to get on my soapbox here, but there's barriers that come in, social media barriers, things we learn in TV and movies, books, whatever, that start to create people to think differently. And we got to play kind of offense and take action, like you're talking about, with our children while they're still so young. Limited beliefs.
Limited beliefs that we adopt because we don't know any better. And when usually that happens, we don't know our worth. And I know we don't have a lot of time, so I won't go into something that happened to me, but the last weekend. But my take from that situation, and we can talk in another opportunity about it, my take in that situation is that I thought I had healed from a relationship with somebody, and something happened that triggered me. And instead of me reacting, and I was having this conversation with my daughter last night at dinner, I said, I remember who I was and how that rolling of the eyes or whatever would make me feel 5 or 6 years ago. And it took 30 seconds for me to shift and say, I'm not that person anymore. And I'm going to have to work on my healing a little more so I don't have those triggers. But you're not going to get the best out of me this time, because I am different. I am a different person now. And
so good.
That process is such an enlightening thing, because it's like you can go back to the mirror and say, you did good. You did good and you grew. And you know what? Kudos to you for not going backwards, but also kudos to you for recognizing that you need more healing.
Yeah, and it could be anything. It could be a small thing. It could be something like you said in a personal story with an eye roll, or something that strikes a chord with you from a previous relationship or situation, or it doesn't matter what it is, but it could be something really small. And Yeah, I think it is important to give ourselves that love and grace, and I think journaling is a way to do that as well, where you're actually writing it out and reminding yourself of. And I do not personally journal; I kind of do it mentally, like kind of gratitude.
To do it. Look,
but I
have one for you right here for men.
Okay,
my husband was doing the women for a while, and then I come up for one with a man for men. And yeah, you have prompts. It's very
is the men's version is that available for sale?
Yeah, it's at in Amazon, so you can start
Amazon. Okay,
now. You and your daughter can do it in the morning
together
and at night, so that would be great.
And if she doesn't want to do it and I keep doing it, guess what? Like you said, my actions will speak louder. She'll see I'm doing it, and eventually she's going to want to do it too, because that's what we're doing, you know. And if I stop doing it because she didn't do it, then she's in control of dictating whether we're going to do something that's positive or not, right? So I have one question. I always like to leave this for the end because it kind of shares a little bit more holistically about your journey and where you're looking to go with it. And you actually are an author, as you just held up the 2 books, and you have a few others than that even. So you are an author, but I want you to think about this in a little different light here for a second. You're the author and protagonist in your own life story. And you get to write the ending. And God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back, you're reflecting on it, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
My legacy would be to create a roadmap to find yourself for every human, man, women, whatever you want to call yourself, he, she, they, everyone, to find that they are in this world for a reason. They have a purpose. They are enough. And happiness is for them too. We all came to this world to be happy. And it's our job to find that happiness. And by doing that, I would create a roadmap for my kids, for my grandkids, for my great-grandkids. My kids are my fuel. And when I wrote that book, it was a work of love to tell stories. I never in a million years thought I was going to be talking about all my experience and things like that in podcasts. And your daughter is as lucky as my girls to have all these videos. I would love to have videos of my dad talking about important things that we talk about in a couch, you know? But my legacy now is that, you know, here is my knowledge. I made tons of mistakes. And you know what? I fell and I got up and I cleaned myself and I kept on going. And if I was able to do it with 3 kids and cancer and everything else in a foreign country, you can do it too. Because I'm no special. I just had the will to keep on going, and I trust myself that I was enough and I was able to do it. And that's all you need to succeed.
Claudia, you're amazing. How many times can I say it? I mean that. So, like, I got chills just hearing you. And here's the thing. I know that you have this whole story that we didn't really get into today. Today was kind of like a little bit more surface, where you're educating, which is fantastic, and everybody can take so many great things. I'm going to go back and listen to this. I usually listen to my episodes like after they've been out for quite some time. I'll listen to an older one that I kind of forget a little bit about, like everything that was talked about. So then I'm kind of like listening almost as an audience member. I'm not thinking about the questions. I'm not thinking about where the story may go. And I learned so much from the conversation. And so I love kind of being separated from the moment. And this is one that I know I will be going back to. You're someone who I'm going to continue to connect with and stay very present with what your story is and your legacy that you already are building, by the way. You're answering a question to something that you're in action to, like we talked about being in action. You're doing it already, but I'm going to have you back on the show and we'll take a deeper dive into kind of your personal journey. Would you like to do that sometime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. It will be a lot of fun.
This is so good. I always leave every episode with this. Guys, thank you so much for being with us, whether you're on YouTube listening or watching us or listening on any of your favorite podcast apps. Grateful for you being here. Claudia, grateful for you. And I leave everybody with these 2 things. Be great and be grateful. Thank you so much. I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/micedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/micedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.